Wanders, welcome to Soul Wanderings with me, AJ.
And Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, AJ.
Hello, Wanders. Welcome. We are happy to be here as always. We just love Soul Wandering with you. Hi, welcome to the show. This is Soul Wanderings, and you can learn more about myself and Natalie at soulwanderings.com. We hang out at a really cool place during the day called Vibes, Mind, Body, Spirit. And you can learn more about that beautiful heart healing center by visiting vibesnow.com. Each week, we pick a topic for you to join in the conversation with us. And we pick our topics based on our experiences and any topics that you request, which means if you have a request, you can email them to us at connect@soulwanderings.com. It's a good place to communicate with us, or by clicking on any of our social media links that you'll find on soulwanderings.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram mostly. So that's where you'll find us and updates about the show and show announcements, like what we'll be talking about for the week. This week, we're going to be talking about the body talks. The body talks. That can mean so many things, but we're going to be talking about it in.
Who knows?
I'm like, we're going to be talking about it in which kind of way? You
I
never
don't know.
know where the conversation will lead, right?
Right.
You just don't know. And so we just start talking. So our topic tonight, as I said, is the body talks. It has its own language, and a lot of times the language that comes across through our bodies that a lot of us can relate to is the physical pain. And we're going to talk about how we can tune in and listen to our bodies and figure out what's going on and see where the attention needs to go in our bodies and all of that good stuff. Natalie, yes.
That's right. I guess listeners can't hear my head nodding.
Well, we aren't on any other platforms like we used to be. We used to be on Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, all those things when we were with the station. Now that we're on our own, we just play live on YouTube and Facebook, which are great places to be. We really like being here. It's a lot of fun. We're getting new listeners as we gain traction over here because it takes time.
It does take time.
And while I say that, if you have not liked or subscribed or all of the above to our platforms, please do so. It will just allow us to assist and support more people. That's
Spread the
what
wealth.
we love to do. So the body talks, Natalie. What does your body say? How does your body talk to you?
I just went on a hike before this, so that was an experience. I'm like, what a great experience right before, because I'm a relatively fit person for my age. I think that it's quite able-bodied, but boy, there is something about going up an incline on the side of a mountain that just is, there's gravity's real, and there were sometimes I'm just going on snow, like snail's pace, but I just kept going and going. And one of the
Mhm.
thoughts that I had flit through my mind, it's when you're focused in an activity like that, there really isn't a whole lot of, well, there's a lot of thinking that goes on in my mind. Um, but it's like stay the course sort of thing, and then I'm focusing on keeping positive thoughts because the body listens as well as
Mhm.
talks. But one of the insights that flitted through was that there's one one consciousness, one point of our consciousness that inhabits each body. And so you as an individual and me as myself and you, AJ, we inhabit this body that you wearing 24/7. And so I just want to kind of put out there initially that we actually know our bodies really well, but you may or may not, depending on where you are in your journey, or um, you may be in resistance to the body that you're inhabiting currently. Um, and we fight against our bodies often.
Yeah, we do.
We don't love the form that we're in often. It's too many people do not love themselves. And the body is one aspect of the self. And so it's our house, it's our temple, it's where we live. It's
Mhm.
the vehicle that carries the soul essence around, or the personality crystal, if we study human design, that rides around in this body. There's two aspects. Human design teaches us that there's this personality crystal, which is consciousness, and then there's the body.
Yes.
And
And then there's the body. This dense, heavy meat suit.
right, but without it, there's not really a trip, you know? Like walking on just so if you just take like traveling, I've been thinking about traveling because I've got a road trip coming up in the real near future. And so without my car, those miles and miles and miles, they could be done in an airplane or a car and various modes of transportation. And our body is that mode of transportation for our personality crystal all the time.
Mhm.
But there's no trip. The consciousness crystal just is. It just is without inhabiting a body
Right. As a human.
as a human, which is
Although we can astral travel.
I was watching this bird. It was a pretty large hawk. And so when you're on the side of a mountain, and we were sitting at our rest point and watching this hawk sail out, not very far from us, and there's this little ooh in the stomach when you're looking up at a bird flying. And I said, I've only flown in my dreams.
Hmm.
But there was this connection to just watching the bird, and it was like, oh, maybe that's what the bird feels
Right.
in that. And so all body stuff. This was my insight on my hike, where I was um, working with my body that's not in great conditioning as far as hiking goes yet, and knowing that I'm going to get there, and then my heart's beating, and I'm struggling to go up the hill, but I know that the struggle's worth it. And
Mhm.
I listen to my body and I rest it when it's just at the done point, but I want to get where I'm going. And so this is part of my body saying, well, my legs are fatigued. They're fatigued. But they can get there and they don't necessarily want to stop, but they want to rest a little bit. And this
Mhm.
is the place where I just was, a couple hours ago. So I'm listening to my body, honoring my body, keeping the negative thoughts at bay, making sure that I'm not saying, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's like, nope, nope, we're going to get where we're going. It's okay. Just
Mm.
one foot in front of the other,
Right.
kind of a thing.
I really like that you brought up the thoughts, the thinking, because the thinking, our mental abilities, our mental strength has a lot to do with the way our body talks to us or the way we talk to our body and how it responds, right? So like
Yes.
we know a lot of people who have chronic pain or some big physical issues. Um, I am in that line. I am experiencing some really amazing things that give me an opportunity for growth. But like chronic pain or physical pain, they're just signs that our body is out of alignment.
Right.
And anytime you have a health symptom or like your legs, it's just an opportunity to receive feedback from your body to let you know that something may be out of alignment. So I really your experience going hiking is a good example of that. Like your body was like, oh, but your mental strength is what really pulled you through. It made your body strong enough to be able to complete the hike because your mind was like, nope, my body's not giving out on me.
And there were times where it's like, okay, I'm going to breathe to my legs because it felt like my legs were not getting enough breath. We've talked
Mhm.
about breath. Breath happens that is a beneficial thing in a lot of ways. It really delivers life, and we can breathe all the way to our toes. And
Mm.
if you haven't experienced that, then you know, work on breathing all the way to your toes. I would work on pushing my breath to my legs so that they could keep on going.
Yeah,
Keep on going.
it really is a mindset for sure. Um, I just want to give a shout out really quickly to everyone in the chat rooms over on Facebook and YouTube. Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. So nice to have everybody. All these lovely people saying hello. We really do have a great group of wanderers. It's pretty awesome. So good.
Yes, yes.
Thanks, everyone. Um, so,
So, what are some of the
going,
things you've learned
oh, this
listening
is
to
a
your body?
Yeah, this is a great topic. We look at pain or like discomfort and wonder like, did I move wrong? Did I eat the wrong foods? Maybe I'm catching a bug or maybe there's some kind of illness going on. But what most of us neglect to even consider is that possibly our emotions are playing into the physical discomfort. And your emotions, for me, that has been the biggest thing that they create this dis-ease, right? Disease in our physical body, and it impacts us on a cellular level. And you've got to learn how to process the emotions because your quality of life will not only improve if you work through the emotions, but um, it will just it will put you in like a balance, right? Because the word disease is actually two words. It's dis-ease. It meaning it means you are not at ease, right? Your body's not at ease. You're not at ease with yourself. You're not at ease with life. You're not at ease with whatever is going on. But for me personally, like this topic is really important to me, and it's a way that I literally get to practice my life on a daily basis. Um, in, a lot of people know, but for those that don't, I was given a diagnosis. Let me slow down. My brain is going faster than my mouth. I was given a diagnosis like 2012 of MS. And yes, I have the symptoms in my body, and they have been indicators that something is going on inside of my body. And I'll tell you the difference between initially getting diagnosed to where I am now and the difference in what I learned to answer your question. Um, when I first was diagnosed, I was told you can plan on being in a wheelchair in the next 5 years. And also was told like this would happen and that would happen. I may lose my ability to use my hands or speak normally or have, good, strong cognitive functions. And so, when you first get a diagnosis like that, you're like, what can I do? What do I need to do? How can I not have this happen? And so you do what the doctors say, right? We pay the doctors to help us. But what the difference is between Western doctors and Eastern are completely different because the Western doctors, they look at the body, they don't look at the whole entire system, which includes your emotional body. And so I just did what they told me to do. I took the medications, I did the injections, and they told me to plan for future assistance, like renovating my home and getting a team around me for when everything went south because it was going to happen. There was no doubt about it. It was just going to happen. And I really took that and I was like, okay, I I believed the doctors. I started doing what they said, and eventually my body started deteriorating. And I got really dark because I was like, yep, it's happening. Everything they said is happening. And I really took that in and believed it with everything because they know what's best. They know statistically. And after a year of this, I knew that's not what I wanted for myself. And that's not how I wanted to live. I was miserable and I was like on 15 different medications. And I was just having all these other slew of issues because of what I was putting into my body, right? That wasn't for me. And now I could have taken this diagnosis and totally which went dark, which I did at first, not knowing better, but then I got to a point where I was like, there's got to be something else. I really, really want to know what is MS and how does it begin in the body? And that's when I took myself on a journey of discovering what caused this. And one thing led me to another and another. And I discovered that MS, as well as a lot of other slew of health problems, especially autoimmune conditions, are caused by trauma. There's several scientific links and doctors who really believe this. And so I started listening to different podcasts and reading different books. And I learned through the beginning of the process that one of the biggest things was not to take ownership. I learned to change the words to I have MS to I have been given a diagnosis of MS. And just by saying that first, that was the first step, was it literally changed the frequency in my body. And I felt it and I was like, whoa, there's something really going on here. And it allowed me to really like take hold and believe in it so much that I was able to dig deeper and losing ownership of that label first and foremost, and then doing the research on how this happened to me in the first place. A lot of times they'll say like illnesses like this are genetic from our parents, our grandparents, and so on. And there's a ton of research, right? I mean, um, diseases are genetic or however that works. And I mean, we share the same DNA. So things can't trauma can be from like the trauma in my body. If I never went through trauma, I'm still carrying my mom's trauma. I'm still
Mhm,
carrying my grandma's trauma. It goes
mhm,
on in within us on a cellular and DNA level. And so when I started learning this, realizing, wow, I've been through a lot of major trauma in my life. I went down that rabbit hole and I started looking into the entire body system, right? Not just my physical body, but my mind, my spirit, my emotional body. And it led me to trauma healing and some other modalities of mindfulness and spirituality and meditation. Meditation was big, which turned out to be so amazing learning because I was able to turn the disease into dis-ease and begin the healing on the emotional ends of things. And so now I walk easier, my cognitive function is stronger, and a slew of other positive outcomes have taken place. Where I used to walk, I even walked with a cane for a couple of years, even a walker at times. It was so hard to move my physical body because I truly believed this diagnosis was going to put me in a wheelchair because
mhm.
that's what I was told. But one of the coolest things when I first stepped into the whole mindfulness and spirituality thing was I had an energy healing. And in the energy healing, I'm still talking, yes. In the energy healing, this is just really cool, you guys.
It is.
It's just like so powerful the journey that I've been on, and I can't even put it into words, but I'm definitely shortening up. But in energy healing, I was told that I don't know if you've ever heard, you have, but if our listeners have ever heard of Paramahansa Yogananda, he was coming through in my healing session. He was a spiritual guide and teacher for me at the time. And he was a monk who practiced and taught meditation. I didn't know that. I was like, who? What? because everything was so new to me. And so, of course, I had to go research who this fellow was because I'm like, why is he my guide and why is he coming up? I had no idea who he was. So there I go, doing my research again. And I learned about him, and I'm so grateful I did because for me, it was big in the beginning of my wellness journey. He believed that many physical ailments are rooted in unresolved emotional and spiritual imbalances. And it's not just what you experience in this lifetime, it's all lifetimes. So parents and grandparents and their and so on. It just carries on. And by understanding and addressing these deeper issues, we can heal not only our bodies, but also our minds and spirits by creating practices of like reducing stress and cultivating inner peace. It's one of the biggest ways that he taught. And he was just a really amazing teacher to me. And if you guys aren't familiar with him, if you're interested, read his book, Autobiography of a Yogi. It's quite a read. It's very magical. I was like, what? Like, very profound teacher in my world. It was what really started me off on like, what is all of this stuff? This is so amazing. In fact, fun fact about him, he he was uh, a yogi, right? He taught and practiced meditation. He would meditate for like 5 days straight without eating or drinking. Like he was like incredible. And in fact, the way that he transitioned out of this life was through meditation. He literally left his physical body and transitioned through a state of meditation. And the mortician even reported that there was absence of any visual signs of decay in his body and no physical degeneration. Like he was, it was like 20 something days after his death, and there was still like not even any odor or anything. He was in a state of perfect preservation.
Wow.
Yeah, insane. So he's just a really great teacher. Highly recommend. But what I learned from all of that is wow, our minds are so powerful, first of all, and our emotions can either make us or break us. Like what we consume in our minds and what we speak out loud or internally to our bodies is so important. It is so important. Not only will it heal your body by changing the way you talk and working through your emotions differently, it will change your whole life, right? You
Hmm.
won't have those imbalances. Now, to this day, do I still have pain? Yes. Is it just an indicator that there's still work to do? Yes. Am I working on it constantly? Absolutely. And I don't use a cane. I've been using cane in, I don't know, like 8 years. It's been a long time. There are days I can barely walk, but I know why because I push myself and push myself. And it's just a reminder that stress is something that will kill you. Stress will kill you. And you really got to cultivate a practice of rest and rejuvenation. It is so important. So, so important. There's my rant.
That was lovely.
To answer your question, I just think it's really important that you get the information, but also do your own research.
So one of the we have Western medicine, which is wonderful in the technology and the
Yes,
advancements, and not really dissing on what.
emergency,
Hmm.
emergency.
Um, but when it comes to, we have a tremendous amount of chronic illness
Mhm,
um, in these days, and a lot of times the Western, they're starting to integrate a lot more of awareness that pain is a mysterious thing, and it does not always correlate it to something structural, that
mhm,
there is. And what ancient Chinese medicine and Eastern philosophies have understood is that there's these connections to something other than the structure of the body that drives pain. And in my when I'm working with clients, I have one favorite go-to book where it's the section that says probable feelings causing disease, dis-ease, as you said, and it's about releasing the dis and gaining more ease in the body and understanding that our bodies are not designed to be ill or to hold on to pain and to have it
Mhm.
forever and ever. There's different modalities, and a lot of times we have to go beyond the regular medical doctor or the pharmaceutical things, because pharmaceuticals also, as you were mentioning, have their own set of side effects. And I'm not here saying everybody drop whatever it is you're doing because you're not finding wellness, but this is an additional step into saying that there's lots of different books that say, hey, let's address what happened to you emotionally. I remember listening to a lecture, maybe it was a year or so ago, where this was a gastroenterologist. So he studied the gut health, and he would talk about taking his patients that had these chronic illnesses, he would take them back to something that happened most often in their childhood.
Mhm.
When did these symptoms of yours start? And inevitably, just before the symptoms, not very much before the symptoms, there was something traumatic. Your house burned down. There was something difficult that the family had going on. You had a sister die or something. These were the examples that he showed of people that couldn't be cured by anything. They had thrown everything at it in the modern medical, and they couldn't fix themselves. And they spent 2 or 3 sessions with a trained person that would take them back to that place and then acknowledge it and move through that,
Mhm.
release the trauma of the thing, and bring that young child's mind into more, the older adult will talk to the younger child and say, it's okay, you're safe, that's not here anymore, we made it through, explain to your little self because you know what your little self needed to hear,
Mhm.
and then their symptoms will go away. It
Mhm.
really can happen. That's not everybody's story, but I have seen it enough. I'll read from this one book and I will read feelings, probable feelings causing illness. And inevitably, I'll watch my client's face go, what?
Yeah.
That, that's creepy. How accurate that is. So, or they'll be like, oh, no, 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 that can't be right. A bit of the sarcastic spin on that, saying, but it's these things. So you're going to continue to have this aspect or this illness. And why not? If you're experimenting with pharmaceutical drugs and you're going to the doctor and you're taking your time, money, energy to go and visit with someone, why not try and experiment with this other side too? Why not? What do you have to lose except for maybe some disease?
Exactly.
And
You know, I
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So, and I go back to when I was in my 30s, and I was a mess. I remember at one point I had this thick file folder of all my medical records from back then, different things, and I just was not well.
Mhm.
And that wasn't everything that I am, because I don't have any of those things. My body is not bound to those things that I was dealing with back then.
Mhm.
And I know that there were various things happening in my life that were driving a lot of body dysfunctions. I was out of alignment, like you were mentioning earlier, not in balance, out of alignment, having a lot of stress going on, and it took its toll on my body. But our bodies miraculously can restore the homeostasis, this health and well-being that we actually have the ability to have in our body.
Mhm. It's really quite amazing how powerful our bodies are, and we underestimate them and take them for granted. A lot of us look at our bodies as like this physical thing that we get to dress up and have this appearance, and it's like, and we'll go on these fads where we'll eat really well for a while or exercise routine for a little bit, but we don't realize like just like the vehicle you refer to, that we have to take care of our bodies. There are things that we need to do in order for our bodies to be fully functioning, and that includes including all of your body systems, not just the physical body, but the mental and the emotional and the spiritual, all of it.
It does matter.
It does matter. Another book that was really good, and you'll love this one, is Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. All right, it's a great reference book um, to refer to when you're having something going on in your body. You can refer to it um, to the emotion side and clear it just by the power of your words and your intention.
There is another section that's in that book that is about distressing or difficult or negative emotions, and how you and um, suggested replacements that are positive.
Mm-hmm.
So you take this, and it's really beneficial if you don't really, if you're kind of new at this, or even just have done it for a long time, and you just get something that's just stuck in there and say, well, what would I have instead of this? What would I want to replace it with?
Mm-hmm.
So I started out my morning this morning. I was watching a little lecture on human design, and then for some reason Abraham Hicks came on. Just it
Oh.
was the next suggested video started, and oh, thank you YouTube for sending me a lovely divine message. And so I want to bring up something that was in one of those that I listened to, and it was Abraham said, "Look, I know that you are telling me what it is you're experiencing currently, but it is reinforcing you're staying out of the vortex. You're not actually you're putting in this resistance to the different state of being to come to you, because you reaffirm and reaffirm and reaffirm and reaffirm what you're currently experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
which puts this resistance into the next state of being that's waiting to be delivered to you."
Mm-hmm.
And so there is this understanding that the language that you're using on a regular basis, the stories that you're telling, I understand that people say, but this is what I'm experiencing. That's correct. But it also, to continue to talk about what you're experiencing when it isn't what you want to experience, just reinforces the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's beneficial to 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 say, well, what would I want besides this? What is it that I want to receive? So my lovely friend that taught me so much, she would say, "Oh, my body," she would sing these little jingles. She was like, "My body's so happy, it's so well, it's so doing so great." It's like, so just even that, it seems silly, but one, you smile while you're doing it because it is so silly,
Mm-hmm.
and you're talking to your body differently. There'll be times when I'll catch people say, "Oh, my knee is so bad." What? Don't talk to your knee that way. The
Mm-hmm.
knee needs to be like love and tender and say, "I know it's kind of hurting right now, but you could do it. You can get there. You can get there."
Right.
These things, bringing in the health and the well-being and the health and the well-being. Be mindful of what you're consuming, what you're listening to. So this was another thing this morning where I started out with something that was affirming. I just thought, well, I'm gonna just let Abraham talk in my house. My house loves to hear the vortex talk. Listen to something. What are you listening to? Something that's uplifting? Are you? What is it that you're consuming? Are you just hooked on the drama, which is fun and entertaining? But you got to add some other things that feed the soul and feed the body, and because we can have heaviness, where whatever we're consuming, whatever our thought cycle is, it can stay in the heavy and stay in the heavy, and it gets dense, and it causes pockets of pain and disease in our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I go through phases with that. So I went to college for criminal justice, really fascinated with that world and the way that people operate, right? And also the injustice. And I really enjoy watching uh, court hearings, just really into it. But it is a heavier energy. It definitely is heavier. And I know when I watch too much, I literally will feel it in my body. Like, I'm not feeling great today. I wonder why I'm not feeling so good today. My energy is low, or I'm drained, or I'm just kind of feeling sad. I don't know why. And I have to realize, oh, girl, you have not listened to something positive for a few days. You've got sucked into this case. You're all involved in it. And it's time to like pull in the reins and listen to something that feeds your brain in a positive way. And I think it's all about balance because we are here having this human experience. And it is to um, really fill out every experience that we can, right? Have a little of this and try some of that. And also remember, you become what you consume, whether it's food or media or social environments. You are a product of your environment, which goes to, I'm curious, question wise, do you believe that disease can be downloaded from others?
Well, that's a really good segue into, I mean, you question the listeners, but that's a kind of a good segue into a human design aspect of the show.
Well, Miss Human Design Specialist, why don't you take us into that then?
So,
And Wanderers, what do you guys think? Type in the comments. Do you feel like you could become a product of your environment and have some sort of disease in your body because of what you're consuming, friendship wise, food wise, media wise? Go ahead.
in the in the human design system, there are areas that are defined, which is yourself. It's also what's reliable. It's also listening to Abraham this morning, I was realizing that the human design it incorporates a lot of things, and a lot of things incorporate the design. So it's not just this modality, but that what's defined in us is our source energy. It's from source. We have consistent, reliable aspects that are part of our self.
Mhm.
And then there are areas that are called undefined that are white. And that's where energy, conditioning from the world around us and from people around us move through us. We can't close it off. We don't shut it down. We don't really shield against it. It moves through us. So it gets confusing. And we often, because we don't live in a world that instructs us so when we're little, we are literally trapping other people's energy in our auric field on a regular basis. It's just something that we do because we haven't been trained to do otherwise.
Mm.
So, yes, we download someone else's distress, someone else's issues, someone's emotional wave, if you're not emotional, someone else's sense of lack or thoughts, even someone else's thinking, someone else's questions. All of these things will be identified as your own self because you're experiencing it within your body and within your auric field, but it isn't you. And then it gets stuck in your auric field because you held on to it,
Mm.
not consciously, not knowingly. It's not like this is something you set out to get trapped and take on other people's things, but it happens all the time because we don't have the training to do otherwise. So the benefit of understanding your design and the way that you operate and what's reliably you and what is anybody else, including the planet's energy, so you don't have to hold on to it. You can experience it, move it. Thank you for your input. You can go. Thank you for your input. Thank you for that information. Go. Get
Mhm.
along, get along. That's not mine. Is this even mine? No, that doesn't feel like me. I was working with a client this week and I said, hey, this is the experiment. You're in your car, just by yourself, just in your car by yourself. And then you feel yourself and you know what your body feels like. And you're doing your thing, feeling pretty good. And then you go into the store and then it's different. And that's a clear indication that ain't you. That is not you. It is someone else in the store or everyone else in the store. This
Right.
happens all the time. And what a freedom ticket to be able to understand that everybody's out there's got their own little distress and their things, or they're happy. You can go into a store and get happy when you were sitting in your car not necessarily happy. Then you
Mhm.
go in some places and you're like, wow, I'm feeling better and brighter, which is a good thing. Sometimes stores are the beneficial place to go and get your energy, your funky energy boot, just
Yeah.
because someone else is having a better day than you, and light gets in. Light gets in. Go around where someone's having a better day than you. Let them lift you up. Let them illuminate your. This is why you open up the blinds and open up the window and let the light in,
Yes.
because it
Yeah.
helps the pain.
Mhm. Absolutely. Pain is energy, just like anything else. And you can shift energy and change energy just with the simple thought or action. It really is that simple. It doesn't cost you anything but your time and some of your energy, right? That's so good.
And then as you this has come up recently too, as you heal yourself and you do your work and you lighten the load that you're carrying all the time, and so you really lighten it up. You're letting go of baggage. You're forgiving yourself for previous things that you've done or haven't done. You forgive the people that didn't feel good in various times of your life, and so you're lightening up your load. And
Mhm,
then you're around people that you've always been okay with being around, but then sometimes you might get left with a headache, or you have a new body ache after you had a session with them where they've told you for the 14th time about the trouble that they're having in their thing, and they're not really doing anything other than telling you that they're having a terrible go of the life, and you've heard the story again,
mhm.
and then they go and you don't feel good.
Let's
That
talk about that,
Yeah.
like the loop that people get into
Mm,
in ways that they could get out of the repeat cycle of their story. Because working with clients, that's a common theme.
mhm.
People get stuck in their story, and they've been telling the same story for weeks, months, and even years. Like they own this story and they have complete ownership over it, and no one's going to change their mind. Does they want to be validated in it, which is fair, right? Everyone wants to be seen and heard, but also it keeps them stuck where they are at. So, how do we unstuck ourselves? How do we get out of this constant loop of the story we keep telling ourselves besides just stop saying it? Because some people, like with the human design, have a defined throat. So they have like this urge to constantly share. And if that urge is there to share and all they know is their story, they're going to keep repeating the story.
Right.
So, how do we get out of that loop?
So it does take an effort on the person that's in the loop to have a bit of willingness you- to pay attention to how often this is what I did in my life. I started listening to what I was saying. There was a point in my life that I was deaf to what I was saying all the time. And there are people that are deaf to it. You don't there's just there's just where people have meet people where they are, but they're sort of deaf to it. They doesn't matter how many they want to be heard, and then they're heard, and then they want to be heard the next day, and then 2 weeks from that day they want to be heard again, and it's the same thing, and there's never a solidness of validation saying I heard you. Let's move to another story. Let's replace that story that was 2 years or 4 years or 20 years ago. What's more current? What's more current? And a lot of times there's definitely a stuckness where nothing new gets in, nothing new gets recorded because it's stuck on this loop.
Mhm.
There's nothing. So there has to be something on the part of the person to say, help me. That when we get to a place where we're like, okay, I need help, help me,
I'm tired of my story. I want to write a
That's
new one.
right. So in your story that you told us that you got this diagnosis and then you spent, a year diligently diligently doing what you were instructed to do and having that experience and going something okay, I guess, and then you're trying it again and not feeling good, and then you said you went to a reader or you had a reading.
And an energy healing.
Okay, so you took yourself to an energy healer where you got a message through that energy healing session, and
Hmm.
you got a message which gave you a little bit of insight, and then you had to explore some more. So
Hmm.
it wasn't like, okay, like let's wave the magic wand.
Well, yeah, I was uncomfortable. I was
Yeah.
so uncomfortable. And I think when you get to a point where you're just so uncomfortable, you feel like you would do anything to get out of that space because it just so miserable. Like it's just not fun at all.
No.
And
So
I
that
also didn't want to believe what they told me was true. I was in denial for a really long time. Like I'll do what you say, but I just don't know. I just don't know if this is gonna work. Like if there's something wrong, it looks like I'm gonna be stuck with this for my whole life. And just like really going, it was kind of like going through the stages of grief in a lot of ways. Like I was
mhm,
grieving the body I thought I had and coming to the realization that my body that I had then was what I would be stuck with. And just like coming to terms with that. And it wasn't what I wanted. I don't want to live my life that way. And I think that's where people get like, I hope that they get to a point where they're just so uncomfortable, they're so miserable, they're like seeking ways to feel better. And I think that's a journey in of itself because when you open yourself up to possibilities, the universe really has a way of putting people, places, and things on your path when you're open to receiving.
right.
And so that's just exactly what happened. My mindset changed, and so my opportunities changed.
Mhm. So it becomes the next journey. So you're journeying along with chronic pain or a chronic condition. There was something in the discussion that said insomnia is often something that a lot of people struggle with going to sleep. And there's a lot of different ways to look at insomnia. Sometimes you are living outside of where your normal energy cycle is. And there are people that are nocturnal that are really truly meant to work in
Mhm,
through the evening, or they get their spurt of energy when they're trying to sleep. And in awareness, like I said in the beginning, you live in your body.
mhm,
And when you tune into your body and you have an awareness of you live in that. Doctors will sit with you for a short amount of time. Um, they don't necessarily take the length of time that you've lived in the body, and they're taking in a bit of information and then they're putting it through their troubleshooting, their flow charts that they've learned, and spitting out something that they can then proceed to work on. And
mhm,
they're like, okay, well, let's try this. Let's try this. We're going to try this medication, see how it works for you, and then come back. And so it's all an experimental thing anyway. And doctors really, if you said this, they would tell you, yeah, we're practicing on what can work for you. And
mhm,
so an awareness of that too, to say, well, practice with your body, listen to your body, learn to trust, build a relationship with your body that has not necessarily been fostered,
mhm,
which is understandable if you got a chronic condition. It doesn't make it necessarily to be best friends with your body. Sometimes you can have, like you said, a grief process that the body that you kind of wanted to have or thought that you would have, you can feel like it's betrayed you in a way. All of these things
mhm,
are things that you can, instead of just cycling in it, you can write it. Writing is a beneficial way of get out of
mhm,
your brain. It has to travel down your arm, through the pen, on paper. And so it's expressing it. So expressing it through writing. There is. something about finding a really good counselor, coach. Not necessarily, don't use your friends too much for your therapist. They're good from time to time, but you don't want to put that on a friend necessarily, because then you lose your friendship. It's a good thing to find someone that can professionally, that has experience doing those things. Or
Also, it goes back to the energy of downloading disease,
right,
right? That's not, you don't want to project that onto anybody else.
right. But you don't need to go it alone. So all these are suggestions to say, hey, if you're continuing on this thing and the doctors aren't necessarily helping you, sometimes it's good to go for second or third opinions, or do
Mhm.
some research, or experiment with different modalities. And pay attention to what you eat. Today, I was up there hiking going, I should not have eaten that thing this morning. I ate because that was not very, it felt heavy. But
Yeah,
diet is
I
often
think
a big
diet is a
reason.
big deal. Yes. Diet creates a lot of disease, a lot. It causes a lot of issues in the body. Uh, that's another thing that I've researched quite a bit. Am I perfect at it? No, because who doesn't love French fries every once in a while, you know? But they're so bad for you. And there's just so many things that you can put in your body that will allow you to feel good and feel free in your body and just be really proud of yourself that you're nurturing your vehicle. I
Well,
think,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, you.
I was going to say, I think right now, like this day and age, like doctors are, I think a lot of them, not that I go to medical doctors, but like functional medicine doctors or alternative doctors, but also the Western doctors are opening up to the idea of different ways to look at the body systems. Like they're welcoming Reiki healing into hospitals now, and they're doing other tests to find the root cause of the illness. I think that people are waking up to the possibility that there's something more to what's going on inside of our bodies than what we originally had thought. And so I feel like it's hopeful for us now and moving into the future the way that things are going to go. I think more doctors are going to become um, more in the line of the functional medicine way. And of course, doctors serve a purpose. There's like when you look at emergency care, when you go to the ER for something, they're really good at finding what's going on. But if you're going to a doctor for a root cause, that's not really what they do.
No.
They treat the symptoms where they are right now, but they don't really dig deeper to find out why they are occurring in the first place. Functional medicine doctors do, energy medicine doctors do. Like there's other ways for you to find the root cause where you can just bypass a lot of this other stuff and go right to where it all began.
Hmm.
I think it's magical.
It is magical. Um, so I want and to know that you don't have to be burdened with it for your whole life. But I want to bring up another little point that said, why would someone hold to an illness? So, um, a lot of times people don't wouldn't know what to do without their story. They really would have a full blown identity crisis
Mhm.
without
Oh,
their
we were
illness.
talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
It's true.
So
Like,
this
who
part,
are you without your story? Who
right?
are you? When you no longer can tell the story, what do you have to offer? I think that scares a lot of people because they don't know themselves deep enough to understand that there's so much more to them than that story.
Hmm. And they get so used to it, the pain becomes it can be a crutch. It can be oh,
Their
it's so
identity.
far. Yeah, it's so far away from what I am now, but I still see it in people where just they just are attached to the various stories, and breaking free from that, I think, like you said, when when the pain to change becomes great enough.
Mhm.
I think it was a Wayne Dyer book or one of his lectures or something, the great Wayne Dyer, who is great to listen to because he's an amazing teacher. But he said, and it's universal wisdom that said that when we fall, it creates this momentum, almost like a slingshot. As you fall, then you get to bounce up to the next level. So it creates this, you pull back on the slingshot and you're building this momentum or this resistance that will bounce you up higher. Things also have to fall apart to come together in a different way. That everything in our life is for us. So look at all the things that you experienced, discovered along the way,
Mhm.
because of where your body had taken you to be healed. Your body went to a place that it needed to be healed. And then you learned all these things. And what you do now is
Mhm.
assist people through their trauma healing journey. That's just one of the many things that you do. You should see our list. All this really long thing.
I don't offer all the things I've been trained in, but that was part of my journey, right? Like when I
Mhm.
started healing the trauma, I wanted to know all the ways that I could do that. And then had this deep desire to help other people because I remember like being so confused. Where do I go? Who do I see? What do I need to do? How do I do this? What does this look like? And not having anywhere. And it's overwhelming, it's scary, it's lonely. And I think it's really important that what I do, what you do, and all of the other people here in our space, we have an opportunity to present to you to dig deeper and to become a newer version of yourself or to remind you of who you are, right? Remind you of your greatness because it's always there. Everything's always there. You've just forgotten or lost your way. And it really does come back to just being in balance with yourself in all of your systems, mind, body, spirit, heart. Um, there's this new lady that I became aware of recently. Oh, I wish I could remember her name right away. But I heard her on a podcast yesterday, and she had made a comment about, as high as you go is as low as you'll go,
Mhm.
and the importance of balance. So celebrate your wins when you have them, but maybe not all of them, right? Because then you have like this more neutrality going on. So your body's not having these high highs and then equally low lows. So she was talking about how you have like this big win, this big success, and it's just like adrenaline and all of these really big endorphins. And, you're so high off of this experience. But as high as you go, shortly after, you're going to go equally as low. And so to put your body into a neutral space, don't celebrate all the wins. Acknowledge them, of course, but keep it kind of like a lower celebration or just an acknowledgement so that you don't have that extreme low afterwards because that's how the body will work. And I was just like, wow, that is so true because I can remember so many times where I would have these big, huge moments, successful moments, and they were big wins for me. And I worked really hard for them. And I remember just being so high and just pumped on adrenaline and just feeling so good about my win. And like within a day or two, I'm just like so down and like even maybe depressed. And I'm like, what is happening? But that's the way the body works. And so if you can neutralize those highs and those lows, how it will affect your body, your stress levels and the energy of your body, like we talk about the imbalances, like
Mhm.
just putting your body into a more neutral balance, you won't have that energy fighting with or against you. I was just like, yes, queen, yes, this is so good. I was like, I resonate with this so much. She's a doctor. She's a functional medicine doctor. She specializes in geriatric care. So good. But yeah, like just think about that. Like, you don't have to be happy all of the time. I
No,
mean, nobody's happy all of the time, but we're not saying don't have any emotions.
no.
I mean, that's important, right? You follow your body's guidance system, but don't stay stuck one way or another on the high or the low, because that does cause disease in the body. It does cause the stress in your body. And stress is probably, if not the number one killer in people. It causes so much disease in the body. It's just so many problems come from stress.
Oh,
So
yes.
the biggest thing we've talked about in our shows is really, really focus on your breath. Like bringing you here to the current moment, whether you're in that high or you're in that low or you're in that story or wherever you may be, your breath is the one thing you always have access to as long as you are alive. And it can bring you to the here and the now. And everything looks different in that place when you're not in the past, when you're not worried about the future. Everything in the here and the now will make everything else seem small, not so big, not so monumental. Just breathe. Once again, once again, just breathe.
It's so true. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this has been fun.
Oh, hello, hour. You're like, this is fun. Oh yeah, it's 7 o'clock. Okay, guys. Well, I guess that's a wrap. Again, if you guys want us to talk about a specific topic of your desire, connect to us on any of our social media platforms by visiting soulwanderings.com, or you can email us at connect@soulwanderings.com. And if you are local to the northern Utah area, you can come and visit us at vibesnow.com. There's also a lot of us who do long distance sessions. But in the meantime, we will be back here next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. So we will see you all then. Right?
That's right.
Good. Thanks everyone for your activity in the chat rooms. We really appreciate you and your support. And just love that you're here with us on this journey. It's so good. You're all so wonderful. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good one.